know Leon Pickney is here. I'm going to call him up and Stanley Watts. How's everything? You got any other folks want to come up? They can. Family members, anybody want to come up? Come on up. Come on. Stand. Come on. I'm not gonna bite y'all. Come on over here. Thank you, Larry, for being here. I'm glad. So, just want to first thank everybody for coming out. In the beginning, I just want to thank, obviously, Leon Pickney, director, actor, filmmaker, the vision to commission this artwork, Stanley Watts and Tammy Brooks, the artists for creation of this statue, Curtis Farrow, who we know in the McDonald's Gospel Fest that comes to Newark all the time, connected us with this whole situation with Reverend Roundtree. Thank Reverend Roundtree for Yemi Shakur for making this day happen. We got a bunch of inquiries right away. This was a gift by this artist to the city of Newark. And he probably could have taken this anywhere. We are grateful that he chose to display it in Newark for as long as we possibly can have it. Maybe they find a permanent home somewhere, or maybe here, who knows, but we're happy to have it here for the time that we've gotten here. Also want to acknowledge Public Safety Director Brian O'Hara for coming out, and also Larry Ham from the People's Organization for Progress for always showing up, that's for sure. So, just a few things before I allow the artist and the filmmaker to discuss the importance of this. I just want to say, we have a couple of calls because, listen, there are people in Newark who have been victims of police violence. There are people in the state of New Jersey have been victims of police violence. And, immediately we have a knee-jerk reaction and we say, why we don't have statues of them, and if somebody would make one, we would certainly display it, or any images that we have. But we want to thank this artist for thinking of Newark, which I think is going to be an incredible unveiling and a beautiful piece that you'll see. I also want to say, George Floyd represents a lot more than himself at this point, at this juncture in history. Congress is contemplating a George Floyd and policing bill right now. All of the activity that took place around this country, around the world, because of the untimely and ferocious and vicious murder of George Floyd, and all of the activism that sparked out of it, is worth us pausing and paying attention to. When Emmett Till was lynched, his body was dragged out of the Tallahatchie River. He wasn't the first person that was lynched in America, and he certainly wasn't the last. There were hundreds of years of lynchings that took place in this country before Emmett Till's body was pulled out of the Tallahatchie River. Hundreds. Some of them more egregious, grievous, and disgusting than Emmett Till's body. His mother chose to display his body in an open casket. From a young boy who visited Mississippi from Chicago, who met his fate when he met white supremacy down in Mississippi. But as a result of that, the civil rights movement sparked. All kinds of activism was elevated and expedited because of the death of Emmett Till, but more importantly because of the activism of his mother and the activism of the organizations that made Emmett Till's death that much more salient for all activists throughout the country. And we believe George Floyd has the same impact that today as Emmett Till's death did then. So we're proud. I'm happy. When it came to me, there was no contemplation, no trepidation. I said, yeah, why not? We should have it here. Let's do it in Newark. And hopefully when people walk by and they see it and they participate in it, and hopefully it inspires them to become active in the struggles that are happening right here in Newark and right here in New Jersey. And right now in New Jersey, we're fighting for a civilian complaint review board right now at the state level. And we want them to pass it the way we want it to be passed before the summer is over. And we got some commitments from a couple of people, but we need our bill passed. We want the law to be a civilian complaint review board with investigation and subpoena power right here in the city of Newark, in every city in the state of New Jersey has the right to have one. So we're fighting for that right now as we speak, so get involved in that. I would like to take this time to bring Leon Pickney up to give us some remarks as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Okay. I was inspired the night that George Floyd was murdered. Thought that we should have a statue of him, not to honor anything that he has done in his life, nor anything that we have done, but to honor his humanity. And by honoring his humanity, we honor every single other person's humanity. But truthfully, I was kind of disappointed throughout the years because I thought that no one marched for African Americans except for African Americans when we needed to go through some powerful changes. They marched for whales and dogs and cats and tigers and lions, but not for us. And so when George Floyd passed during such a horrific pandemic, and people who had the opportunity to watch it on TV and saw what we've already known all these years, and they came out and began to march, the Caucasian people took it upon themselves and began to march like they never did before. And I felt proud about that. And the statue was to cause them to continue to remember why they marched during such a horrific pandemic. And I didn't want them to go back to the status quo, so I called Stan, and I beat around the bush, but I wanted him to create the statue. And like I said, I beat around the bush, and at the end of our conversation, I said, Stan, why do you think I called you? And he took a beat, and he said, because you want me to create a statue of George Floyd. So I knew that God was with him, because he was able to feel and read in my spirit what I needed and what we needed. So it is not to honor the artistry of this sculpture, but it is to honor the humanity of him, like I said, and that is a sacred space. So we must treat that as a sacred space where people can come and assess themselves and assess how all the stuff, the hatred, if they have that inside of them, how did it get there, right? So anyway, I'm going to introduce Stan Watts, a fantastic creator of sculpture for 40 years. Stan Watts.
I did not know I was going to be asked to speak, but nonetheless, I was asked by Leon, and I want you to know, I told him, I'll know whether I'm to do this in 2 hours. And I said, I'm going to take Martin Luther King's head, the clay. I have done a Martin Luther King that went to Patterson, New Jersey. And I took that clay and I said, I'll call you back in 2 hours, and if God wants me to do this, I'll know, because God works fast through what people, artists have the ability to display whether or not the spirit is with them. So I took that, I washed it off, the dust off of Martin Luther King, and I started to build George Floyd, and I sent him a picture in a half hour, and then an hour, and 2 hours later, I said, I believe I'm supposed to do this. But I come from Utah. I don't know if you know anything about Utah, but some people say, where is that? It's by Colorado. Anyway, but I chose to do this knowing that the nation is at a pivotal point, and there are people who say this and people who say that about what happened, but we all know that this was a horrific display of inhumanity. And I don't mean to get emotional, but you have to be passionate about what you do. I teach other artisans, and I say, I won't help you unless you're passionate about who you are and what you're doing. The world needed a peaceful George. The world needed him relaxed and chilling on a bench. And that's what we produced. And we produced him larger than life, because after death, George will be remembered, and that's what memorials are. It's to remember and never forget why we changed today and tomorrow, and that for the rest of our existence on this planet, he was the mark and said, no more. And I believe that in my heart, and my art will speak for itself.
I want to close us out so we can get to the unveiling of the statue. I know y'all can't wait to see what it looks like, but I want to give this opportunity to Larry Hand from the People's Organization of Progress to close us out at this event, because I think it's appropriate to do so. So, Larry.
Thank you, Mayor Baraka, Artist Watts, Mr. Pinckney, Director O'Hara, the people, the city of Newark, and the people who are here today. I want to thank Mayor Baraka for giving me an unexpected opportunity to say a few words. I heard about it just like everybody else, and I just wanted to be down here for the unveiling, just to see the statue. This statue of George Floyd, I'm sure, will continue to inspire the movement for justice for George Floyd, because the fight for George Floyd is not over. We had one conviction of Derek Chauvin, and his attorney has indicated that he is going to appeal that conviction. The other 3 officers that were involved with Mr. Floyd's murder, their trial has been moved from August until next year. The Justice Department has indicated that it is going to indict Chauvin on a second death. So the struggle for justice for George Floyd is far from over. I'm sure that this statue will continue to inspire us to continue to fight, not just for George Floyd, but for Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and the victims here in New Jersey like Abdul Kamal and Kashad Ashford and Jerome Reed. And finally, let me just say that the mayor is absolutely right. For 60 years, the people of this city have demanded a police review board. And we don't want a toothless police review board. We want a review board with teeth, with subpoena power. A review board without subpoena power is a review board without teeth. That bill is going to be heard in the Appropriations Committee tomorrow morning at 10:30. And we're calling on the state legislature, the Assembly, and the Senate to pass A 4656 and S 2963 that would give municipalities the power to create review boards with subpoena power. And we are going to Trenton on Monday to rally on the steps of the State House to put pressure on our elected officials to get this bill passed. And let me just say in closing that Saturday is Juneteenth. Yesterday, the Senate of the United States passed a bill that would make Juneteenth a national holiday, and we will be marching for reparations. That's right. Make Juneteenth a national holiday. It has to be passed in the House. And we will be marching for reparations on Saturday, June 19th, 12 o'clock. We're going to be at the other statue, the Lincoln Statue. Now we got a second place to start our marches from, right here at the George Floyd. Thank you very much. Power to the people.
Let's begin the unveiling. Let's go to the unveiling.
Emotions are high. Of course, we're Bassett News and we always stay the journey. So I don't see any reason to rush over it. Soon the people will back off and we will get a full view of George Floyd statue. At this moment, as I say again, emotions are high and people are running over. And let them run. So they're running for the death and the life of others. The death of George Floyd with the life of others. So we're just, Vassar News, just stay right here in our position and allow them to express their love for George Floyd and the new movement. And then we'll get a full view of it. And I'm happy to get a view of the crowd.
I was sitting there. Okay, good. I saw it. We're from New York. I saw it. You go sit on the bench. It's big enough to sit on the bench.
Mike, go from here. Floyd.
Yeah. Amazing.
Who you doing that to? Yeah. Who you doing that to?
They over by you now.
I've been touching about feminist stuff. I've been touching about feminist side. So I can tell feminists. I'm married too. Right?
You can't take our property. You can't do that.
You can't. Look. You can't even.
I don't care what.
You can't be in the broken women, but you can be in with the media. How we get out what's going on in our communities? How we get that broadcasted?
It's going to be broadcasted.
No. I said what's going on in the community. Well, the police kidnapped 4 brothers last week. The police kidnapped 4 brothers last week. They jumped out of the car and they took them. Hey, yo, Poppy, go get the flyers from the car for me. They're right between the seat.
I'll tell you who to give the flyer to. Larry Ham.
No, Larry Ham with them. He's not with the people out here. He with them. I mean, like, they're not talking about what's going on out here. They talking about this stuff, CCRB, going to Trenton, all of that. I'm talking about they jumping out, kidnapping people on the streets. So who do we talk to? What media?
Like I said, everybody is here.
What's going on? I know Larry Ham. Larry Ham is not the media. Larry Ham is a stunt dummy for them. Like, real talk, I'm looking for like who from the media with the report out here.
All right, after this finish, I'll do a report. As soon as they leave.
People were struggling that too, man. Those 4 brothers the police kidnapped, man. I hope somebody say something, man, because nobody out here saying anything, bro. Like, I'm out here, got to do podcasts, and I got to come out here, do flyers, do stuff. Yo, where the fuck is everybody else at? They kidnapping people from the motherfucking hood and nobody saying nothing. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, who this? Who cares what this? Come on, man. I'm going to call you and tell you about it, because I'm posting stuff on my Facebook page, Instagram, everything. But I'm gonna ask Captain O'Hara.
shooting. Yeah, I heard that. Some old guy barreled his bike down the street and took out 2 cameras. Pixels and somebody else. You got a broken viewfinder, the old guy's coming down on the sidewalk where all the cameras are. The police is blocking off the block. There's 3 cops out there. And everybody was telling him to slow down. He drives around the guy telling him to slow down. And then to make insults and injuries, the cops took him aside and taking his information. He walks away from them and then kicks the tripod twice. I was this guy was yeah, they broke me out of there to come here to get this really quick. So now I gotta go back there and do a 5 o'clock run.
It's summer.
Yeah, I'm tired of freezing my ass off. You didn't know about this all day? Thank God it wasn't mine. I was across the street. I was just telling people Sarah's story.
Like, you know, like cool a little bit, because I'm still taking. Let's fuck up.
Buying drugs from that killer right away. He's going to give me I spent many years shooting the ceremony. Never was supposed to be doing it. I was with her when she got arrested at Kennedy Airport. And I told her, I said, Sarah, that's a good idea. They took her out here. The best one.
This year like 3.
Okay, I see the two already.
Yeah, so the third one's gonna be across the street. It's just not ready yet. It's gonna be in the new
It's not gonna be in that parking lot.
No, it's on stereo.
Did y'all buy that area or that rent?
We're renting it. So we should be there for a few years. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And that's how we
As long
got
as they're not gonna develop it.
You don't think y'all can get it?
Maybe. We'll see. We're gonna keep working.